Welcome to America's Heroes Group.
Welcome back to America's Heroes Group. This time our roundtable with our partner, All Rise, newly crowned. Today is Saturday, August 26, 2023. August is National Wellness Month. Our host is Cliff Kelley. I'm Sean Claiborne, the co-host. Army National Guard veteran. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith. Our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scouts Arnold Productions. And we have a panelist with us, the esteemed Charles Burns, a judge. He was elected as a Circuit Court judge in Cook County in 1998. Judge Burns currently hears felony cases at the Chicago Criminal Courts building and presides over the nationally recognized Cook County Rehabilitation Alternative Call and the Women's Rehabilitation Alternative Call, both called RAP. Treatment Court Hall of Fame member. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine, thank you. How are you?
Pretty good. So you're in the Treatment Court Hall of Fame. Tell us about that.
Well, it's something that I'm very humbled that I got it. All Rise is a national organization for all treatment courts, both Veterans Court, Drug Court, DUI courts. They also have tribal courts. And every year they induct at least one person into their Hall of Fame. And I think I'm one of 20 that have been inducted. I got inducted this year, so I'm very humbled and honored by that award.
Wow. So you work to establish partnerships. One of the partnerships you established with the Cook County Housing Authority, and that's part of our topic today, getting housing vouchers for treatment court participants. Tell us why that's important.
Well, you have to remember that people that are involved in the criminal justice system, and particularly people that have substance abuse disorders, usually don't have any type of stable housing. They may go from place to place. They may be homeless. They may be what we call couch surfing, and they don't have any permanent residency at all. Oftentimes, they are living in areas where it is replete with crime, and obviously replete with temptations of people that will sell them drugs for whatever barter they have. And unfortunately, for women and for men, sometimes it's sexual favors. So what we try to do is we try to get our individuals in the program, we try to get them first inpatient treatment, halfway house treatment with intensive outpatient. And then when they are ready, we try to transition them back to the community. But without that housing piece, we're not going to make any progress. So we've been working for several years getting housing partners, and I'm very proud of the partnership we have with the Housing Authority of Cook County.
So when they get the housing, is it taking them out of the environment particularly, or are they sometimes in the same neighborhoods?
What it is, it's usually taking them out of the environment. What we do is we get them housing vouchers. The Housing Authority Director, Cook County Housing Authority Director, so that's outside of the city of Chicago, basically the suburbs, partnered with our program, and we had 25 housing vouchers allocated for people in our program. They're transitional vouchers. I did not want them to be permanent vouchers. I wanted them to be transitional, and they're for a period of 3 years. And what these housing vouchers give the individuals is they will be able to go find stable housing in a good location, good property, and they're just paying 1/3 of their salary for housing. So obviously much more than they could afford before they were in the program, and frankly, while they're in the program, because we are working with them to get them back employed, employable. And oftentimes many of these people don't have any credit because their credit has been ignored for several years. So this was a great partnership we have. We have other partners for housing, but housing is one of the 4 pillars of recovery. And without housing, good housing, I think you're naive to think that somebody can stay stable.
Mm. Now, one thing that I've noticed from working with homeless people is that there's a trauma that often comes from being homeless. And that trauma is not just sometimes with the person who's homeless, but the family as well. Can you speak to that
absolutely.
a little bit, and how that can keep a person trapped in an addiction or doing some type of bad behavior, a cycle of bad behavior?
Absolutely. That's a great point. I mean, we're finally beginning to realize now that a drug addiction does not just stand alone. Normally there is other components to it. Most of the people, almost all, I would think, that have significant substance abuse disorders that are in my courtroom are trauma survivors, either direct trauma or vicarious trauma or secondary trauma. They've lived through a lot. And a lot of them are carrying that trauma with them, not dissimilar to veterans coming home with the trauma from their service. And that's something that is definitely an issue. And we have trauma-informed treatment. Our treatment agencies, when they're beginning their first sense of treatment in the programs, have a trauma component. We also try to refer them out for mental health services. As a matter of fact, we just were approved just this year. We are going to be able to hire a full-time psychologist on staff to work with the individuals in our drug court program. And that's we've been going to outside agencies, and that's worked okay. But I think when we have it in-house, I think we'll be able to afford the opportunity to talk to a psychologist at 100% of the people in the program.
And then also, you've been providing safe space for children and participants in the court housing and in the courthouse specifically in a pilot program that's with the Sesame Street Workshop through Sesame Street in Communities. Tell us about that, and then and I'm curious to hear more about what's going on with the safe space in an actual courthouse.
Okay. First off, if anybody is familiar with Sesame Street, they are very cutting edge, and they talk with children about a lot of different issues. There's characters whose parents are divorced. Their parents may be deceased. They may have same-sex parents. Their parents may be incarcerated. And they came up with a program to talk to children about individuals, their parents, their caretakers, and possibly their grandmothers or grandfathers that are suffering from substance abuse disorder. And the reason they're doing that is two different reasons. Number one, so the children can understand what mom and dad are going through. There are resources. You can go on the website. We have books for the children. We just received training through All Rise to implement these services, so the children know about that. And secondly, and maybe one level down, is as we know, a lot of times substance abuse can be multi-generational. Kids mimic what they see around them, for good and for bad. And if they mimic their significant parental individuals' substance abuse, it's much more likely that they are going to fall into that same trap. So Sesame Street in the Community has partnered with All Rise for this pilot program. All Rise has picked 3 courtrooms or court programs in the country to do this pilot program. We were lucky enough and honored enough to be one of the 3. So All Rise came out and trained us. We have Sesame Street resources. And a little known fact you may not know is there is actually a children's room over at the Layton Courthouse at 26th in California. And the children's room basically is for people. It's a locked facility. It's for parents to drop their children off so the children don't have to sit in court and see, number one, be bored in court because it takes a long time. But to see and hear a lot of things in court that, frankly, a young children doesn't have to have. So I've talked with my presiding judge, who's Judge Erica Ruddick, and I said, can we use this children's room space to set up a safe area for children of people in our program? And she was all for it, and we're in the beginning stage of working that out. And but we are talking with our participants, the people in my program, about these resources we have right now. So we are up and running with that. I also will note that we also are up and running with the Cook County Sheriff. They have drug programs over at the jail. There's what they call the Thrive program, which is a women's justice program for women that are incarcerated in county jail. And there's a men's program called SMART. These acronyms, don't ask me what they stand for. I'm not really sure. But they are also using these resources too. So we're just going to try to spread this across the board from the time they come into the program until the time they graduate in the program. And I'm very excited about the opportunities we have here.
So I can see why you're a Treatment Court Hall of Fame, because you've been able to create these partnerships. So how did you go about getting these partnerships with Sesame Street and then also with the Cook County Housing Authority, and also the partnerships you've fostered through the years in order to get this message out and get the resources around treatment courts?
I can't take any credit for the Sesame Street partnership. That's all Rise, and they chose my courtroom and a court. I should say my court program, a court program in Billings, Montana, and one in Detroit. With regard to the housing program with Cook County, my big thing is the more we publicize the programs we have here, the better it is for us. Number one, it's nice to hear something good coming out of 26 in California. You know, you hear the doom and the gloom and the violence and the heartbreak all the time.
Right, and people that don't know, 26 in California is a prison, the Cook County prison, and not here in Chicago. People that don't know, they're around the country. Yeah,
it's a holding facility. It's a county jail where people are held prior to trial. But in the program here, what we try to do is we try to publicize what we're doing, and we have graduations every year. And we have a graduation in November. We have a graduation in May. And these are people that have successfully completed the program. And we have an actual ceremony in my courtroom. We do it through Zoom. As a matter of fact, if you want a link, I'll make sure I send it out for your listeners when we have our next graduation ceremony. And during the graduation ceremony, the people are able to speak, give their little testimony of things that went on. And in one of these graduations, Rich Minacchio, who was the executive director of Cook County Housing Authority, came. He was very impressed with the program. Within about 20 minutes, we decided to sit down and talk. And he was the one that gave us the vouchers, had to kind of kick the chalk line a little bit with HUD in D.C., but we were able to do that. So, you know, my big thing is the more you promote these programs, the more doors that are open. And frankly, I don't mind picking up the phone and trying to make a contact with someone. It's a little bit harder for somebody to tell me no than one member of my staff. So we've been real lucky to partner with a lot of very impressive agencies.
And I think also to have a successful program makes a big difference, because like looking at 26 in California, which is the Cook County jail here in Chicago, that particular jail is also known as like the world's largest or the nation's largest mental health institution or something like that. They call it as a pun, because people are sent there and they have all these issues. They are not being treated. They're just being locked up and it's just festering. Whereas you have a system that's obviously not working in just a regular traditional jail system, but then you have a program that actually is working, getting people out of addiction, getting people into being productive citizens, and doing it through a means which helps the community at the same time and is more cost effective. From all the data that research shows, correct me if I'm wrong, this is much, much cheaper than traditional jail, getting treatment.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you look at dollar amounts, and if you talk about just the cost of incarceration versus the cost of treatment, it's a saving of more than $4 for every dollar you put in. But there's the cost that you don't see, the cost of reuniting a person with their family after 20, 30 years, the cost of somebody being a contributing member of society, the cost of somebody getting back to work. And it is absolutely amazing. You know, I've kind of got a trite phrase, and anybody who knows me will roll their eyes when I say this, but, you know, a lot of people call these programs restorative justice. Mm-hmm. I don't like that term. Okay. I don't. I think this is progressive justice. Because we're taking individuals and we're taking them, we're not restoring them to where they were before. We're making them better. And they're making themselves better.
You said progressive justice, correct?
You know, their work, everybody is working or in some type of assistance. Everybody has access to get their credit cleaned up. Everybody has access to housing. And at the conclusion of the program, the charges are dismissed. And we go back 5 years. We vacate their convictions 5 years back. I got a great partnership with Cabrini Green Legal Aid, where they are doing that at no cost. You know, what the legal term is pro bono. And so if somebody comes through the program, they get through the program, they're clean, they're working, they're reunited with their family, and they don't have a conviction for the last 5 years because we wipe it out. I mean, this is what criminal justice is about. I mean, this is what we are moving forward towards. And I wish we had more money and more programs like this.
You kind of touched on this question before, the answer to this question, which is You go with an evidence-based approach.
Right.
Explain to the audience what does that mean to you, evidence-based approaches, and then what are some of the tools and strategies that you found to be most effective at treating addiction and getting people from doing these petty crimes that end up in clogging up our prison systems?
Okay, I'll give you an example. Maybe it's easier to do that. I mean, in some drug courts in the origin used to say, you come to my court, you can't use drugs. Okay, and if you use drugs, you're going to jail. Well, you're dealing with that. I mean, these are people that if they could quit on their own, they would quit on their own. An evidence-based practice is having medicated assisted treatment to help them when they're struggling with their addiction. We all have heard of methadone. There's also Suboxone. There's Vivitrol. There's other drugs that will either prohibit them from getting high or would significantly cut the craving for drugs. So you can get over that period of time where not only physically they need it, psychologically they also need it. Medicated assisted treatment is evidence-based practice. Also, evidence-based practice is also you're treating the addiction, or you're treating the causes of the addiction and the what comes along with the addiction. So you're treating the mental health issue. You're treating the trauma issue. If you have a woman in your program that may have children, you're treating the issue of DCFS involvement with the child. You're doing a lot of those things. And evidence-based practice is also attacking the consequences of convictions, what we call the collateral consequences, expunging their record, sealing their record, getting them jobs. So I'm a firm believer. All Rise has taught me so much about being a judge. I'm a whole different drug court judge in 2023 than I was in 2010. And that's because I'm totally immersed in this. And frankly, my entire team is. You know, we just came back from the conference in June, the same conference where I got the award.
Wow. So treatment courts, veteran courts, addiction courts, all these systems which are based on the same premise, evidence-based approaches to trying to solve problems as opposed to just throwing people in jail and incarcerating people. Where do you see this going? How do you see this evolving? Do you see this becoming the model for the future?
I really do. I mean, if somebody would have told you, stopped 20 people on the street and said, somebody's been in the penitentiary 15 times, we're going to give them drug treatment, you probably have 16 of them look at you and say, that's a failure of character, or, they should just quit. Well, that's not the way it is. I mean, I think the narrative and I think the public dialogue is this is not only the norm, this is what's expected. If we can help people out, let's help them out, okay? Let's not punish them for things. They're not dangerous people. They're committing crimes because of their addiction. Let's give them the opportunity they can to succeed. And frankly, not everybody succeeds. We're taking we're not cherry picking cases. We're taking people that might have been to the penitentiary. I've literally had people in the penitentiary 20 times that the state's attorney reduced a non-probationable charge. I say put them in the program because I look at their record, I look at what they're doing, I look at their attitude now and say, and these are some of our most amazing successes because we can do that. We are all familiar with the opioid crisis and the opioid crisis that's crossed, city borders, state borders, social economic borders, racial and gender borders. So it's recognized now. And we need to address this differently. I think we are addressing this differently. I think our attitudes toward people with significant mental health issues are also treated differently. I know our veterans are treated differently. We're not there yet. We're definitely not there yet, but I think we're on the right path.
And could you tell us, before we go, a success story that meant the most to you, to give people an idea, to solidify what the experience is like when someone is broken that then is all of a sudden made whole again?
I was just at an alumni association meeting this morning at Haymarket. Haymarket is our biggest provider. And what we did, we're getting people that have graduated from my program that want to continue to interact with other graduates. And they're also helping people out that are currently in the program. We had a good mix today at Haymarket. It was like 11 o'clock today. Thank you, Haymarket, for providing us the resources. The sheriff provides us the food. But just going around the room, and I could pick out 6 of them, and I know we don't have enough time, but these people are saying, I would be dead if it wasn't for this program.
Wow.
I'll pick out one particular person, an individual who said he was living in his car for years and years, now has his own construction company. He employs 20 people. He is clean, he is sober, he is giving back, he chairs meetings. And frankly, whenever I call him and ask for something, he picked up the call within 2 rings. But I could go on and on. One other thing, one other quick story, and I'll make it quick. I can draw this one out, but I'll make it quick.
Go ahead. We got a couple minutes.
I had a middle-aged woman from Appalachia that struggled with the program for a while and was doing real good. And then one Monday morning, we found out that she died.
Oh, wow.
And I was heartbroken. We have people that relapse and die. But we found out that she didn't die. Her body just gave out. And I said to myself, we got to her too late. Because all those decades of drug usage, her body just gave out. She was clean. She was happy. She was sober. But my point is, we got to get these people earlier because we can help them. But we've got to get them earlier. We can't get them you can't get them at the last stage of their life for their addiction.
What does treatment court need to expand further?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
What resources does treatment court need to expand further to make it more a bigger program, further reaching, to get to those people faster and to affect their lives?
That's a great question. I mean, we need more resources. We need more money. I could definitely. One thing I'm really searching for is the tattoo removal service. Because a lot of these individuals have tattoos all over their face, and it kind of hurts them trying to get jobs and opportunities. We're also looking to get more housing. We're always looking to get more housing. We're pretty good getting the treatment. And I think I'm very optimistic that with the psychologists on board, we'll be able to address the mental health issues. But there's a lot of different things, and I've got a great staff, and we're always making phone calls and trying to open new doors and provide more resources for our program.
I think that's all amazing. You told us some really great stories, and also, once again, I really do want to see the treatment courts and veterans courts and addiction courts grow, because the system that we've been using in the past, this isn't effective. It's not nearly as effective. It's something like 3-to-1 as far as effectiveness. The treatment courts have over traditional imprisonment.
I mean, treatment courts work. I mean, that's the line of All Rise. Treatment courts work, and they really, really do. I mean, the number of people you see in treatment court that are recovering addicts is not the right way to say it. With people with substance abuse disorder is simply amazing. And these people, they're involved in usually self-help group 12-step programs, and part of that, their mission is to reach out to others. And I think by expanding these courts, expanding people in my court, giving more opportunities, but expanding the people that are fighting recovery and succeeding in the fight, I think it helps everybody, both one level and 3 or 4 levels up.
I appreciate your time today. You gave us a lot of information and added some color to this whole process, because oftentimes we hear about the success of treatment courts and veterans courts, but we don't really know what goes on, and we don't really see the real impact that it has in the community. So I really appreciate your time to tell us about all these things that are going on.
Okay. We like I say, we do our graduations by Zoom. I'll send you a link if you want to watch. Send it to your audience. I'd love to share that.
By all means, definitely. Love to hear that.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Judge Charles Burns, he's with the Cook County Criminal Court, and he is in the Treatment Court Hall of Fame. This is America's Heroes Group. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. And also see us on Facebook and on YouTube. You can hear us on WVON AM 1690, 4 to 6 every day, every Saturday. Sorry.